The most important thing would be for people to leave feeling seen, safe, and celebrated,
I love that.
right? Seen because oftentimes the more luxurious a place gets, the less seen we feel as people of color.
Mm-hmm.
Safe because it's important for all the reasons we can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Safety is important, not just physical safety, but
Yeah.
emotional, psychological safety, right? Coming to a place where you feel you are embraced and welcomed.
Yeah.
And then celebrated is that happens through the music, the food, the art, the vibe. So we are immersed in Blackness and culture here, Black art, uh, lots of jazz. Jazz is
Mm-hmm.
our music expression here. And then the food. So you're going to get things that are familiar, but we're also going to push you beyond your boundaries. So you will see collard greens, but you also
Yes.
will see kale,
Well, how you
right?
both, so.
Yeah, and we don't always do that,
Yeah.
but yeah. So the idea is to make sure that our guests leave feeling embraced
Mm-hmm.
and relaxed and at peace and a little more clear than when they came in, a little calmer
Mm-hmm.
than when they came in.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Kickback with Keri podcast. I'm your host, Keri Henderson, and we are on location today. We are not in my house. We are at the beautiful Wellspring Manor and Spa in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. I am with one of the co-owners, Elisa Alexander, and we're going to talk all about this beautiful location and why you need to book your next trip here. Hey, Lisa.
Hey there. Thanks so much for having me,
Thank
Keri.
you for inviting us into your space. It is a beautiful space. I told you when I got in here, I'm just in awe of all the artwork. I'm like, I want to buy up everything on the walls. It's so beautiful in here. And it is truly a hidden gem because I know even coming here, I almost got lost because I was
Happens to
driving.
everyone. Happens to
I called my
everyone.
producer. I was like, it has me going to this location, but where is it? And then I found the driveway, the hidden driveway, and it
That's
takes
right.
you to a nice oasis, I like to call it out here. When you think about this space, what do you want people to feel when they come here and when they leave here? Because it is a hidden place, hidden space. I don't think when it comes to Maryland, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, we don't think about, bed and breakfasts in Maryland and Upper Marlboro.
Right.
So what experience do you want people to have when they come here?
That's a great question. I would say the most important thing would be for people to leave feeling seen, safe, and celebrated,
I love that.
right? Seen because oftentimes the more luxurious a place gets, the less seen we feel as people of color.
Mm-hmm.
Safe because it's important for all the reasons we can imagine. Safety is important, not just physical safety, but
Yeah.
emotional, psychological safety, right? Coming to a place where you feel you are embraced and welcomed.
Yeah.
And then celebrated is that happens through the music, the food, the art, the vibe. So we are immersed in Blackness and culture here, Black art, lots of jazz. Jazz is
Mm-hmm.
our music expression here. And then the food. So you're going to get things that are familiar, but we're also going to push you beyond your boundaries. So you will see collard greens, but you also
Yes.
will see kale,
Well, how you
right?
both, so.
Yeah, and we don't always do that,
Yeah.
but yeah. So the idea is to make sure that our guests leave feeling embraced and relaxed and at peace and a little more clear than when they came in, a little calmer than when they came in.
I could see that because when I walked in here, I'm like, this feels like a safe space. And I feel like that's something we need,
Absolutely.
especially now. We need to find community. We need to find location and spaces that we can literally just like let our hair down and be without having to wear a mask.
That's right.
Without having to put on a show. We can
That's
just be
right.
our true authentic selves.
right.
So it really does feel like that when you walk through the front door.
Good.
So mission accomplished.
Check.
Mission accomplished. What inspired you and your husband to even come up with a bed and breakfast and find this space in the first place? Like what did you guys say? Like, you know what, it's time. We need a space like this for our community.
Yeah. The best experiences come from either a crisis or a problem, trying to solve for a gap, right? So I love to travel. My husband loves to travel. And I'm a bit of a hotel snob.
Yeah.
So everywhere I go, I'm looking for something kind of boutique and luxury.
Yeah.
But the nicer the place got, the less welcome we often felt. And I said to myself, wow, is this just happening for us or for other people as well? bed and breakfasts aren't new.
Yeah.
What is the spin that we put on it was, how do we create a space where people feel the elevation, feel the luxury, but it's still approachable and it's culturally like relevant. And so that's where the concept came from. We were traveling, we were at a really nice hotel, but people kind of looked at us like, can you really afford to be here? Why are you here? Who are you? That kind of vibe. It wasn't a B&B, it was a hotel.
Yeah.
And so we came back and said, we need a space where people of color can come and get that elevated vibe, but also feel super comfortable. And hence the birth of Wellspring Manor and Spa. We actually purchased some land out near Brandywine
Okay.
in an area called Aquasco, which is the southernmost tip of Prince George's County. Very rural, very pastoral, very kind of, little house on the prairie vibe.
Yeah.
But it was a little too far and it was raw land. And so the infrastructure costs were just
Too high.
out of control.
Yeah.
Right. So from a business model perspective, it just wasn't feasible. And so we eventually sold that land and looked for another location. And this popped up. I was constantly in the real estate listings, and this came up. And what was crazy was we lived 10 minutes down the street and had no clue it was here.
Yeah,
And for years.
would never know this was like if you're coming here, you would never know this was back here.
No, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing surprise. It was a surprise to me, like you. The first time I came down Drumshoe Lane, I got lost.
I was like,
right?
wait.
I passed the
I
driveway.
did. I was like, this says I'm here, but I don't see where it is. It's a
It
residential
happens.
neighborhood.
Absolutely. And it is a residential neighborhood, which throws some people off,
Yep.
right? Because they're expecting maybe a commercial development. So I like you, passed the driveway, got to the end of the cul-de-sac, and I was really mad because I was excited about what I saw online, but I couldn't get to it. So I was
Yeah.
like, Lord, are you playing jokes on me? Like, am I being punked right now?
Right.
And so I turned around, and as I was heading out to what I thought was leaving, I happened to look to my left, and there was the driveway. And I turned up the driveway, and I went, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And even at that point, when we purchased the property, so that was 2017, we purchased the property in March of 2018. And it was in need of TLC.
Yeah.
This space had been vacant for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
When we bought it.
Yeah.
So it was sitting, languishing, kind of houses need to be lived in, right?
Yeah.
And they need to be occupied. So the owners at the time were maintaining the grounds, but just enough to not let it look crazy. And so I pulled up, it took my breath away. I walked around and was just in awe and started trying to peep through the windows and jumping up and down, trying to see if I could see
looks
him.
like in there.
Yeah, that was a Thursday.
Yeah.
I called my husband, called our agent. We got in on a Sunday. We made the offer that same day, knowing that we could bring life to the space. This house has good bones.
Yeah.
It was built in 1953. A lot of people think it's older, but it's not. But it has the character of an estate built in the 1800s.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It does feel like an
And
estate
a lot of,
like
yeah,
that.
a lot of
it
people
does.
think that, but it's actually
I would
not
think
that
it was
old.
older. I thought it was older.
No,
Yeah.
no, not that old. But it had 1853 vibes versus 1953. But it needed some TLC. It needed modernization. And so we worked hard to keep a balance of modern and kind of classic
Yeah.
in the same space. And so that's a little bit of the story about how we got here.
To your point about traveling, I have noticed that too. We'll go on vacation. I've been with friends, Lion Sisters, and it's just the stairs. Especially if you go out of the country, it's just like either y'all not used to seeing Black people, or you're just not used to seeing Black people in those spaces because they don't say anything, but it's just the watch your every move, watch you in your group of people, or it's the so. What are you guys here for? Or what are you guys celebrating? Or what is this? So that has definitely happened multiple occasions.
Yeah.
One of the interviews I saw you did in the past when you were talking about building the space was the feedback from the neighborhood. And it was a good point. And I was like, oh, that is such a good point. Yeah. You talked about how people were a little apprehensive about you building the space here, because it's a new space in their neighborhood, established neighborhood. Can you talk about that and some of the challenges business owners face? Because when you talked about it, that was a really good point, because we're trying to find this balance between building up our communities and bringing new experiences to our communities against people who want to hold on to the way things were. Yeah. And so how do you juggle juggle that balance?
That was probably one of our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
We were intentional about bringing the community into what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so before we even opened, we hosted a couple of neighborhood meetings,
Mm-hmm.
literally invited everyone on the street. I think there are 22 houses or so. And we invited everyone to come in and meet with us in the barn. We put out a spread. We
Yeah.
made sure things looked good so they could get a sense for what we were imagining. We put together a little brochure and all the things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Like, this is what it is.
Yeah. Except
Yeah.
the people on the street have a really high sense of ownership. They've
Mm-hmm.
lived here for many, many years. Many of them are the original owners. And so they're protective
Mm-hmm.
of this area. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But to your point, our county, Prince George's County, is accustomed to a certain type of business, right? We know restaurants, fast food, kind of big box stores, restaurants. We know gas stations. You know, there's a whole
Or
conversation about
these big shopping
these
centers.
big shopping centers or the lack thereof.
Yeah.
You know, there's a real sentiment in the business community about, you know, the preponderance of royal farms, for example, right? They're everywhere. And so what we don't do well in this area or have not historically is unique spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Spaces that haven't been here before because people are kind of like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And so we got that same reaction from the neighbors. They were skeptical, concerned about noise, security.
There's always a concern about noise and
Yeah,
security.
noise and security, and you know how many events are you going to have, and are you having parties, and all those things. And what we try to convey to them, we're looking to create an oasis.
Yeah.
You use that word, oasis.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what was centered in our business plan. And so the idea was to create a space where people could kind of wind down, not turn up.
Right.
But it was hard for them to process that. Fast forward, we opened and we were watched quite a bit.
That does not surprise me.
We were watched quite a bit. I had the police called a couple of times
Really?
on us, even though we were extremely respectful. And I get it. I think they were just afraid, right? Fear will make us do strange things. And so eventually, the kind of pushback quieted down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're used to us now. And they realize that our intention is to be good neighbors,
Yeah.
to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood, and really to, in some respects, bring it up because this was a vacant property. And so you can imagine all the things that can happen on a vacant
Yeah.
property when people know it's vacant and it's dark. It was dark as night back here.
Mm-hmm.
No lighting.
And it's hidden, so you
Hidden,
don't know
right.
what's going on back
So
here.
exactly. And so I'm confident at this point they realize that we're good neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, neighborhood resistance is a real thing,
Yeah.
particularly when you're doing something that folks are not familiar with. Many
Yeah.
people hadn't heard of a bed and breakfast before. They didn't know what that was. They didn't understand what we meant by upscale. They were concerned that, you know, it would just be lots of traffic and noise and it's none of those things.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't aim and set out for it to be like that.
I wonder if they thought that because in their mind, you know, they think about like a hotel traffic. You know,
Yeah.
there's a little higher traffic when you're doing a hotel versus bed and breakfast where
Right.
someone's literally going to stay. It's limited guests. You
Right.
can only have a certain number, so
Right.
it's not going to be a lot of in and out
Right.
happening. When you mentioned events, what type of events do you guys host here?
We host a series of things. Most of what we do is centered around music, art, or food.
And I
So-
love all three.
Yeah. So every month, for example,
Yeah.
we open the manor up to the public. We host something called a gallery walk. It's an art-centered experience. Think about a real estate open house, but focused on art.
Okay.
So we literally open our doors. It's free, no registration required.
Nice.
Folks can come through, meet the local artists, meet our curator because we have one.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to come to.
Yeah, definitely.
coming to the next one.
Yeah, and just take in the art
Yes.
in a residential kind of environment.
Yeah.
And we do that every month on the third Sunday of the month from 2 to 5. So that's something that's been a standard since we opened.
Okay.
We also host events around holidays. So we do a Christmas event, caroling and s'mores and all
fun.
those kinds of things. And that's very family friendly.
Yeah.
We've hosted a couple of HBCU events. We've got one coming up for Juneteenth, which I'm super excited about.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
I know that's gonna be good.
And then, of course, we host events that are music centered. So my husband is the executive producer and founder of the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival.
Nice.
And so almost all of the music that we host and feature here is jazz related.
Of course, yes.
We had a beautiful candlelight concert series by the pool during COVID when everyone was afraid to be in a building with another person. And so that was fantastic. We're going to bring that back this fall. But we have concerts in the barn all the time where people can come in an intimate setting, usually no more than 50 or 60 people, and they can get up close with and personal with the artists. So it's a nice
Oh,
vibe.
see, I told y'all. All black everything over here. It's an oasis. You get all the culture at Wellspring Manor. What are some of the other offerings besides the events that, it's open to the public? When someone comes here, what are the offerings and services that they can expect, when they're here for your weekend?
Sure.
Girls retreat, guys retreat, because I know you guys have done stuff for, women and men.
That's right.
Separately. I saw that on social media recently.
Yeah.
So what are some of the services people can expect?
So folks can expect very personalized service.
Okay.
We have a spa, right? Wellspring Manor and Spa, and that was very deliberate and intentional. Our spa, however, is reserved exclusively for our overnight guests.
Okay.
So you have to be an overnight guest to use the spa. But we have a small spa on the premises. We offer massage, facials, reflexology, yoga, meditation. We also have an art gallery on the premises, and it's filled with more original Black art. We have a gift shop. As well as a pool and some terraces where folks can enjoy quiet spaces if they want to meditate or if they want to have dinner or private dinner. We can do that too.
Nice. How has the manor, it's been since 2017, how has the manor evolved since then? The manor and spa evolved since you guys first opened?
That's a good question. I don't know that we have changed much.
Okay.
What you will experience today as a guest is much like what you experienced almost 7 years ago.
Okay.
What's become, I guess, more intentional is we've just kept refining, right? So the intentional quiet space and relaxation vibe, that's always been a part of what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But we keep refining. What are things that we see guests are looking for or wanting to experience? For example, when we first opened, we didn't have a coffee bar in the living room. People wanted coffee machines in their rooms, and we said, probably not.
Yeah.
That creates a little bit too much risk
Yeah.
for spills and stains. But we didn't have a coffee bar, so we
Yeah.
introduced a coffee and tea bar that guests can access all day long. When we first opened, we didn't place lavender in each room, but we realized that so many people need rest and relaxation. And so we started including lavender vials in each room that guests can rub on their wrists and sniff and just kind of, woosah.
Yeah.
We've added more art. We had quite a bit when we first opened, but over time we've filled every space, right?
When in here, literally every wall has art on it. I love it. Like, it's definitely an art gallery in here.
Totally,
Yes.
totally. And we've made some improvements. We didn't have a gift shop, for example, when we first opened. We opened that in 2024 as a way of, 2023, as a way of just giving guests something else to do.
Yeah.
So we keep evolving and refining the experience. There's still other things I'd love to do programmatically. I would love to introduce, more services, and we'll continue to do that because we want to keep it fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the biggest lessons you've learned about, I guess, two-part question, business-wise and about yourself on this venture? Because I know you have the Manor and Spa.
Yeah.
You also have your own company.
Yeah.
So you have a lot going on. You're juggling a lot. But what have you learned building this business and about yourself in this process since 2017, since opening? Since finding the space, opening it, being intentional, evolving over time, what are some lessons?
I would say one of the biggest lessons is the importance of listening to the guest experience and continually improving it. I would say the other is to be humble, right? And guests will tell you what's working and what's not. So listening actively is a really important and underused skill. So I would say that's something that we've learned. From a business perspective, the importance of sustainability, ever evolving what you do to keep fresh and relevant for people who have already come here, who may or may not come back depending on what they experience, right? I would say financial preparation is key.
Yeah.
We're in the hospitality business, right? We're essentially like a hotel or a boutique property, and there are swings in the cycle. and we've learned those swings. And so as a result, we kind of alternate and temper what we do to fit those ebbs and flows. I will say though, this year we're kind of busting all the myths about our slow period. March
Yeah.
traditionally was our slowest month of the year.
Hmm.
And we found ourselves kind of closing certain days of the week just to make
To prepare for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
This year, March was like one of our best months, so we're
Well,
grateful for
we're
that.
living in different times.
We are, we are. But ironically enough, we're seeing a surge in support and business when the economy is a little uncertain.
That is true. But I think part of that, though, is people just, yes, the economy is uncertain, but I also feel like it's a great opportunity just for be intentional about where we
Yes.
spend our dollars.
Yes. And I
Because
think that's what's
I've always been telling people, buy black, buy black, buy black. But I think now, given the climate and everything that's happening, people are now really taking that more seriously.
are.
And so if I'm going to spend my money, I'm going to look first
Yeah.
to see if I can get this from a small black-owned business before I go to a large corporation or somebody else.
Absolutely. And we've had guests tell us that explicitly.
Yeah.
We came here because you are Black owned. And we appreciate that.
I think that's, hopefully that is not a trend, and it's more, people are more conscious about that, and it becomes more of a lifestyle versus a trend. Because I feel like we've been in waves of like, buy black, and then it kind of waves off. And then it's like, you guys, who are your favorite brands? I'm like, y'all do this every couple of months, every couple of years. Just be intentional. Look for it first.
Yeah.
So where would you like to see Wellspring Manor in the next 3 years as you approach the 10-year mark?
Yeah. I want folks to be able to feel confident that when they come here, there's going to be consistency in experience, right? Quality, excellent service on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
There's a saying I use: be excellent consistently and consistently excellent. Two different things, but super, super important to me. That when people come here, they don't have to wonder, what am I going to get this time? You know, will it be good or will it be just okay?
Yeah.
I wanted people to know that every time they walk through these doors, they're going to have
They know
a
what
good
to expect.
experience.
Yeah. One of the things I meant to ask earlier, when you're in the process of building a space like this, you face, issues with the neighbors, but were there any fears? Did you guys have any fears about taking on this project? Because it is, she's like, no.
No, none whatsoever. No. But that's me. I'm a little twisted that way. So I like doing things that folks haven't done before.
Yeah.
I like being dared not to do something because I'm going to show
That's a challenge.
you.
Yeah. You're like, now I'm going to show you
Yeah,
that
that's
I can
right.
do
I'm going
it.
to show
Right.
you. That's right. And so I had no doubt.
Okay.
I had no doubt. Having lived in this county for over 25 years, listening to friends and others talk about what was missing, I knew this would resonate. We just needed the right space, the right location, and open at the right time. And fortunately, we can check those boxes.
Yeah.
Even though we opened in 2018 and had to close completely by April of 2020 because of COVID,
Yeah.
it was still the right time. Folks were ready to invest, and I knew that this would resonate. And I'm so glad that it has.
I am too, because listen, I will be booking and staying here. I was telling you earlier, I'm like, I do want to host a girls retreat. I just got to we got to get it out the group chat and get all the girls on the calendar. So let everybody know when they can come and book, like days during the week that you guys are open, and where online they can find you to book.
Absolutely. We're closed on Mondays.
Okay.
With the exception of that, we're generally open every day of the week.
Okay.
We do have a full-time guest services manager who's outstanding. Her name is Sheila Robinson. Everyone who stayed here knows Sheila, unless she's physically not here.
Yeah.
She's absolutely delightful and does an excellent job welcoming and taking care of guests. We also have our lead chef, Chef Renee Weeks. She is also the proprietor of Kindle Cuisine, a local catering firm company, and she provides she curates the food experience here. She's not always here, but many times is here. When she's not here, I step in because that's what you do as a bed and breakfast owner. So yes, we have a team of folks. We've got some part-time staff as well. In terms of how to find us, we are on Facebook and Instagram, a little bit on TikTok, but not so much. Just admittedly so.
Yes.
And you can find us at wellspringmanor.com, on Instagram at Wellspring Manor and Spa, and then on Facebook at Wellspring Manor.
You guys heard it. Go to wellspringmanor.com. Check them out on all the socials. Come on down to Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Come to this cultural experience in this oasis. And if you're in the area, DMV area, make sure you check them out for their monthly events that are open to the public. I look forward to attending these because I didn't know they had so many.
We do
So
all the
many
time.
options, so many different experiences, especially if you're into art and music and food. Definitely check out Wellspring Manor, and I will catch you guys on another episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Kickback with Keri podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. The Kickback with Keri is available wherever you get your podcasts.